Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring a really quite singular connection.
Yeah, the one between Walter Russell, an artist, interestingly, who had this, well, what do you call it, cosmic revelation.
And Nikola Tesla,
Yep.
the inventor, a name everyone knows.
Exactly. And our source for this is excerpts from Chapter 0, The Whisper and the Listener, Russell and Tesla.
Okay.
It looks at their relationship, and it kind of makes you ask, right, what happens when a vision, something totally new and maybe unconventional, hits a world that just isn't ready?
And maybe more importantly, what can we learn from the one person who actually seemed to, well, to listen?
Precisely.
So let's start with Russell. This experience he had, it sounds immense, like a sudden download of how the universe works.
That's the description, yeah.
Yeah.
A profound all-at-once insight. And after that, he felt this incredible drive, this compulsion almost,
To get it down.
to articulate it through writing, through these really detailed diagrams he made, trying to map out these cosmic laws he felt he'd been shown.
It must have been an enormous task, trying to put something like that into words and pictures.
Definitely. The text points out it was a huge effort, trying to bridge the gap between his, personal revelation and the science of the day.
And he didn't just write it down for himself, he actively tried to share it.
Oh, absolutely. He reached out far and wide, sent hundreds of letters, apparently.
Done it to who?
Scientists, big thinkers, philosophers, even political leaders, sending his manuscripts, his drawings, trying to get them to see what he saw.
He was really looking for validation, for someone to understand.
Yes, conviction is the word the text uses. He was convinced. But the response,
Well,
not what he hoped for, I'm guessing.
largely silence. Or, polite dismissals. It didn't land.
Why do you think that was? Was it just too out there?
Well, partly, maybe. But the text suggests a deeper clash. Russell's view was very holistic. Mind, consciousness. He saw them as fundamental, primary, even.
And that really flew in the face of the dominant scientific view back then. Early 20th century, very fragmented materialist, based on Newtonian ideas mostly.
Right. So you have this artist talking about the fundamental nature of the cosmos. Two scientists working with empirical data, established physics. It's like they were speaking different languages.
Completely different languages. The text even says, for many, his ideas just did not compute. It wasn't even about agreeing or disagreeing.
It was about basic comprehension.
Yeah. The framework just wasn't there for them.
Yeah.
An artist revealing cosmic laws. It probably seemed, well, improbable, maybe even absurd to some.
Their training, their whole approach would lean towards skepticism, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, towards claims coming from outside the established channels.
And this is the core of it today. There was an exception.
There was Nikola Tesla.
So amidst all the silence and rejection, Tesla responds differently. He's intrigued. Why him? What made Tesla different?
Well, Tesla himself was hardly conventional, was he? He operated on a different frequency, you could say. His understanding of electricity, for instance, went way beyond just practical uses. He seemed to feel it as this fundamental, connected force.
And he had his own history with, well, visions, intuition, exploring things others weren't.
Exactly. Unconventional energies, phenomena that weren't really accepted or understood by the mainstream. So maybe he was more open.
So when Russell comes along, describing energy, this dynamic, interconnected universe.
Something resonated. There was a kind of recognition. A meeting of minds, perhaps, operating outside the usual boxes.
Tesla didn't just see art. He saw potential physics, potential truth.
The text suggests he saw the huge significance, that this cosmic illumination of Russell's wasn't just subjective fantasy. It might be like a glimpse behind the curtain.
A peek at the universe's operating system, as the text puts it.
Yeah, something fundamental.
Which leads to this incredible, almost mythical piece of advice Tesla supposedly gave Russell.
Right, the lock it away advice.
Lock it away. For how long?
1,000 years.
Wow, okay. What's the thinking there? He recognizes its power, but says, hide it.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It shows immense respect for the potential truth in Russell's work,
It also, caution.
Huge caution. Tesla saw technology racing ahead, right? But maybe not wisdom keeping pace. He seemed worried that humanity, well, we weren't ready, that this kind of knowledge could be misused.
That's quite a statement. Balancing recognition with this profound warning.
It really is. And this whole interaction, Russell and Tesla, the source calls it a microcosm.
A microcosm of what?
of the challenge facing any truly revolutionary idea, especially one that's maybe ahead of its time.
The resistance of the establishment, paradigm shifts being difficult.
Exactly. That inertia in how we think. It makes it really hard to embrace something fundamentally new.
It really highlights how rare genuine open-mindedness is, doesn't it?
So rare and so valuable. The ability to just listen, to seriously consider something that shakes up your whole worldview.
And it shows the power of just one listener, Tesla in this case, keeping that vital whisper alive, as the text says.
Yeah, even if the rest of the world isn't hearing it yet.
There's a quote mentioned from someone named Zoran. Hundreds heard noise. One heard the echo of truth. The universe speaks, but few truly listen. That really captures the Russell-Tesla situation, I think.
It really does. It suggests that truth, or maybe profound insight, might be all around us, like whispers.
But we filter it out.
Through our own beliefs, our biases, the accepted ideas of the time, the noise. Tesla was the one who somehow tuned into Russell's frequency, heard the potential truth beneath the unconventional surface.
Okay, so let's bring this closer to home for you listening. The source mentions something called a dragon trial, prompting reflection.
Yeah, it asks you to think about times you might have shared an idea, something unconventional, something you felt strongly about, maybe.
And what happened? How was it received? Did you hit a wall of skepticism? Dismissal?
Or maybe worse. Consider those times you spoke from real conviction, something that felt true deep down.
But it just didn't mesh with how others saw things. Your friends, your colleagues, whoever.
And crucially, was there anyone who did listen? Who gave you that moment of real consideration, even if they didn't agree in the end?
That feeling of being truly heard? Or maybe more often not heard. It resonates with Russell's story, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a very human experience.
So let's just quickly recap. We've got Walter Russell, this artist with a staggering cosmic insight.
Largely ignored or dismissed by the thinkers of his time.
Met with silence. And then Nikola Tesla, the visionary inventor, the outlier.
Who listened. Who saw the potential depth and power in Russell's ideas, even if he thought the world wasn't ready.
So the key takeaway here really feels like it's about, well, open-mindedness.
Yeah, I think so. The story is a reminder that profound connections, huge insights, can happen even against a backdrop of widespread doubt.
And that sometimes the most revolutionary ideas start as just whispers, easily lost in the noise. So maybe a final thought for you to carry away. What about the whispers around you today? Are there unconventional ideas, maybe quiet voices that might hold some important truth?
Things waiting for someone, maybe you, to tune in. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What are you really listening for?